Good morning, friends. Welcome back into the LaRue de Fleur studio today. My name is Janice. Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to talk about more fabric pull stuff. So I love looking at pretty fabric. It's one of my favorite things about quilting. And I am going to be making a few upcoming projects that feature granny squares. So you can get this scrappy granny squares pattern, free pattern from Quilty Love. So you can go to her website. She has lots of patterns for sale, but also a few free ones. This one you will go to quiltyloveshop.com and you can print it out, and that's what I've done here. So I'm going to work on this throw quilt, but I also want to make some additional granny squares. So usually in these patterns it will tell you the materials that you need. Obviously, that's an integral part of any pattern, is how much you need to create the project, right? So this says a partial jelly roll or assorted 2.5-inch squares, and then 3.5 yards for the background. So you could also make that up of little scrappy squares too. But I've had a few jelly rolls. I've had this jelly roll in my stash for several years. I've just never opened it and worked with it. And I think it's time to pop into this one. So this could be really good for some of my background. And it is the Basic Fabric Collection from Riley Brake. And this is white Swiss dots, which I love. But you could also do a combination of like little other tone-on-tone, low volume things, and that would look really pretty with all of these granny squares quilts because they're meant to be really scrappy. So it's a great opportunity to use up what you have, right? So if you come across a pattern and you don't already have a jelly roll, which a jelly roll just means it is rolled up like this in a little roll, and it is 2.5-inch strips of a collection of fabric. Usually there are like about 38-ish fabrics in any collection, and then a jelly roll has 40 slices or in it, 40 cuts. And so they repeat some of them more than once, or you might only get one of each. So if you have a pattern where you want it to be extra scrappy, or there are patterns or sizes where you would need like multiple jelly rolls, how do you build off of something maybe that you've purchased and pull stuff from your stash to either make it additionally scrappy or extend the fabric without having to buy these jelly rolls? Because they can be kind of expensive. This one I got at my local quilt shop and it was $33.09. I don't actually have the cost of them memorized, so I wouldn't really be able to say whether that's better or worse. It's probably average or slightly below average because that's generally how their stuff runs out there. I'm in a smaller, more rural area, so we tend to have different prices maybe than some of the higher, more urban areas. So you just have to check. But I loved this Kimberbell Basics from Maywood Studio. It's called Fall, and you can just see the delicious colors in here. There's like this plum purple, there's gray, there's black and white, there's brown and tan, there's some off-white, you've got that peach color, orange, golden yellow, and then a nice like kind of olivey green. And I just love this, and I think it would be a beautiful quilt. So I went ahead and got it, but then I thought, okay, how could I extend the life of this jelly roll and not just use it as is? Because I have a hard time just using fabric as is, purchased in a single collection, and I love diving into my stash. So that's what we're going to talk about today, how to take this and add a bunch of stuff to it to extend the life or scrapify something that you've pre-purchased. All right, here we go. Okay, so I'm gonna have a sip of coffee first, and now we're gonna get started. So I have everything open. Like I said, for this pattern, I probably won't need that much unless I wanted to make it larger. This says 60 inches by 70 inches is the finished size, so a really nice throw size. And I probably wouldn't need it for this, but I do see it for other quilts. So I'm going to go ahead and open this up and have a look at what's in here. And I already just really love what I see. I did pre-pull some stuff just so that we're not here all day. But you can get a really good idea of the colors in this mix here. So I have these plums, like I said. I love this geometric print, this sort of star snowflake. There's a texture print. There's this wild flower inspired kind of Queen Anne's lace. Another geometric floral. Herringbone. Ooh, fun black and white stripe. Polka dots. Little Swiss dots. More of the geometric, sort of snowflake floral. More of the texture. Another sort of lattice print. Texture again, love the texture. This Queen Anne's lace print in a different colorway, this little dots. You get this one several times, it looks like. That's really pretty though. And as well as this one we had in a different color. There's the swirls. Don't know if I'm a huge fan of that, but whatever. It will work with something else I pulled. I didn't even notice that. Herringbone again, Queen Anne's lace print for a third time. That one, ooh, love that. Okay. So we've got a nice mixture of florals and geometrics, which is right up my alley, and some basics like stripes and dots. So we should have a good time with this. I'm going to go ahead and start with what is on the top side of their pack, which is the purples. And I bought this at the same day that I bought this mix. And I get that it doesn't exactly match these. Okay, so it's not the same plummy color, but I like it because to me it a little bit bridges the gap between this rich brown color. It's got the golden and peachy tones. It's also got the texture and the dots and the leaves, like the floral element. And so I chose this one to go in, and I will cut a strip or two to create my own jelly roll. This is from Wild Apple Graphics for PB Textiles. I think it's called Desert Blooms. I can't 100% read that, but really, really pretty. Just love that. Nice and dark too. Then I have this texture, which is really a spot on match. I don't have a texture in the purple, so that is going to work really, really well, I think. Oh no, I do have a texture in the purple. But this one is a lighter purple than that texture. So to me, that works perfectly. And it pulls that through. It's a different size texture from the one that I have in this mix. So I think that would work really great. And that is Color Wave from Benertex. Very nice. Perfect. We'll do a couple off of that. All right, next, moving on, I think I have my grays right here. So I just had a couple of grays that were cooler in tone. Here I have this print that is just a really basic dot. I think this is just something someone gave me. And there's no dot in the gray, so I really like adding that in. It really works well with this. This is sort of not quite the same, but I think it's still fine. And then I also have this cotton blossom print. And I like that. And it ties in the white as well as the brown tones. It's got that nice chocolate brown that works with the other fabric that's in there. So to me, that is a total hit. And I like that this one's a little bit more realistic. It kind of works for me with the this floral, this Queen Anne's lace floral, and giving the same vibe, but in a little bit more of that gray. And this collection didn't have a ton of gray, so I like bringing in two here because I can really expand and lean into the gray, which is a color I personally really like. This is an older one that I've had for a bit. Loads of Fun by Chelsea design. I don't know. There's not much information left on that one, and I know it's several years old, so there's that. I'm going to go ahead and stack everything back up down here in front. Then I hit my black and white. I don't have a ton of black and white right now. I find that black and white sometimes is difficult to work with because it's such high contrast. And I don't know if I really love that all the time. But I do have this one, which I like, is more, it's kind of like if you take the texture print and you streamline it, right? So it's got that cross-hatching vibe to it, but it is more of like a plaid, a true plaid here. And it's nice and black and white, very simple. This one is Brother and Sister Design Studio from 2018. So you may or may not be able to find that one out there in the world, but it's a good standard. I like the print on that. Then I have this swirl print that someone gave to me, which actually works great with, it's a smaller scale swirl than the orange, but they're very similar. I know this is one that's just like from Joann's and somebody gave it to me. So you could probably find something similar out there in the world. I don't really think it has to be exactly this one. Okay, next we're on to the browns. I just bought this print to do another project. It is from California International Hoffman Fabrics. I don't know exactly the name of it. I wasn't able to reverse Google search it, and the name on mine is cut off. So you would just have to look for like this very 70s inspired fern print. But again, I like that. I feel like it goes back to the little bit of ferny textures that are here and the other prints that are available. And it's got those nice chocolatey browns in it and all of the different tones of brown, from the really dark to the light tan. So I think that really ties all of those different fabrics together, as well as actually, now that I'm looking at it, I see that it works really well with the shape here on this sort of like trellis print. And I love that it's sort of pulling that graphic style of some of the ferns here, like particularly this one. This shape is sort of more graphic right here and streamlined, and I really love that tie-in, which I didn't realize was going to happen. So I love when you pull a bunch of fabrics, just playing with them and seeing how they work together and how they can talk to one another. And when you pull a stack of fabric, it may not always work out. You might have to put something back. You may not like it after you blend it and look at it together, but that's kind of the fun, is just playing, pulling through what you have. It also keeps you very familiar with what's in your stash, which will help you when you do any quilting project, because you will have in your mind sort of a better idea of what's in there and what you can use up and what you can blend in with something that you've purchased, like, which is what we're talking about today. Then I also bought this one. It's got these greens in it, and also it has a little bit of teal, which is not really present in the rest of the collection, but I'm okay with that. A little bit of something unexpected is, in my mind, great. It's also got those very fall tones of gold and the orange, and it's on this nice chocolate background. This one is Fall into Autumn by Art Loft for Studio E. Very pretty. It's got that batik. So if you had like a batik that's similar to this, you could go ahead and replace that. I think that would work really, really well. Next in the brown, I bought my local quilt shop had a fabric sale, and so I looked through my collection of stuff and I tried to think of what didn't I really have a lot of color of. So I sometimes just use up, or I haven't purchased any of that color in a long time. And one of the things that I was lacking was brown. So I kind of, when I decided I was going to get this, which I got the same day, I went over and I looked through the browns and tried to find those chocolatey tones. So this isn't completely from my stash. I did buy these with this kind of project in mind. But I really wanted to like add depth to my chocolate brown stash and my brown stash in general. So that's what I did this day. And I love this one. It's kind of a more structured dot, or like a little grid dot feeling, which I think works. It's a little bit more structured than the confetti type dot on the black print here, but I love that it's got all of the different shades of brown, and I think it works really well with that one. So this is a perfect blender type fabric. It's Dit Dot by Jason Yenter for In the Beginning Fabrics. Oh, 2013, so good luck on that one. But I just got this, so I don't know, it's hanging out in different places. So you could look for something similar, I guess, is probably what you'd have to do there. Then we've got this one, which is Front Porch Marcus Fabrics. I don't know what year that's from. But I love the little fern on this. So we've got the larger, more open fern, but this is a little fern print, and it looks so great with the little leaves that are featured here. It's just a different size. Oh, and that's something else you need to think of. When you're cutting stuff into 2.5-inch strips, you need to think about scale. When I cut into it, what's it gonna look like? Am I going to lose all of the kind of print? Is it going to make any sense when I cut it up? So this one, I think we're okay on, but let's hold on a second. The best way to check would be to get yourself one of these little guys. So we've got this little Omnigrid 2.5-inch square. This is going to make this project go super fast for us, because we're just going to line this sucker up and cut. You can also cut into strips first and then subcut, which is probably what I will do. Cut big long strips just like they are here. And this is width of fabric by 2.5 inches, very, very standard. You could use any of these leftover bits too to make your binding for the around the outside of the quilt. That's a very standard size for that. But if you have one of these little Omnigrids, it's perfect for these smaller pieces, and this is the size. And then this would also help you check if when you cut that up into a 2.5-inch square, is it gonna look like anything? Is it gonna make sense anymore? So we could lay this on our fabric and say, yeah, whenever I cut that out, I'm going to get enough of that print and enough of that color that it will make sense. We should check this big fern print too. Yeah, there'll be enough there that you'll get that texture and your brain will understand it. Obviously, with something small, that's really easy. You're going to, of course, see all of that texture there, but you do need to check. And that's an important point coming up to this next one, which is this beautiful plaid, which now that I'm looking through this whole collection, I don't think I'm going to use this one. And you know why? I originally pulled it because I wanted more like lighter tan, but I don't feel like this looks like it goes anymore. Now that I'm laying it next to, even this like taupey color, this is much more of like a red undertone brown, and I don't like it. And also I think it might look super weird cut into a 2.5-inch square. So I'm gonna omit this one. I'm gonna just throw it back in my stash for another time. A different option I have is this one here, this woven plaid. And I love that it's on this cream. It's a little bit of a different texture, which is fun. It's got the gray and the taupe running through it on this cream background. And I think this one will look so much better cut up into smaller pieces simply because the grid design is much smaller. So we'll keep that one. And then I have this print, which is old and someone gave to me, but it is again a nice blender. It's got this small little fern and berry print, so I think that works really nice. It's kind of a little bit more of a goldeny brown, but I think it works here really well. And again, it's reiterating that fern print sort of vibe. Then I've got a couple of different white fabrics, and these might go in with my background jelly roll just to mix it up a little bit. And then I might need to think, if I'm going to bother doing that, I might need to find a few other tonal prints that I could pull in. But I've got this off-white with a very graphic print. I don't know if you can see that at all. It's sort of if you took a fern and really made it super graphic, but it's really light, tone on tone, in sort of an off-white. That's an option. I don't know. I think I have to get started with this and see how I feel. Since this is such a bright white, it could either go in this pile, which maybe I will leave it in there, or maybe I'll just exclude it. And then I also have this that someone gave me, and it's got little dots, like a little confetti print. So it might mix in really well with the Swiss dot to extend this for my background. I don't know. I think that's an option anyway. So we'll leave these on the optional pile. I'm not 100% sure what I'm gonna do, but I do think I'm going to need more fabric for my background than what I have. So I am going to have to hit up my tonal whites. Okay, next, we'll set that back. Let's see, where are we now? I'm gonna keep this organized. Don't wanna make it disorganized. So I am going to flick through all the browns, fold it up. Okay. Now I have this to market from Cloud9 Organic. Got this sweet little floral print. Love it with the confetti dots. That's 100% yes. I've got this fun vintage fabric with X and O's. So I'm not sure about this one because it introduces like another color that's not really in here. I do kind of like it with this, and I think it makes it a little unexpected, which I personally really like, especially whenever I'm doing scrappy quilts. I want something that's kind of like off just enough. Do you know what I mean? Like something that's slightly unexpected, but it's not like a completely different color that doesn't match, or a completely different theme. Like I wouldn't have little circus animals or something weird in here like that. But it still goes, it's still got this, it's referencing this one here with the X's and the O's sort of looping through it, but it's got this really dark red and like a pinky pink. But to me, it's kind of reading very orange when you blend that stuff together. So I like this. I'm gonna keep it. I will reserve the right to take it out, I guess, if it seems too out of place. And that's like a vintage one. So I don't even think it has properly printed, and also looks like it might be a misprint. So I don't even think it has a properly printed selvage, but I think that's something important to keep in mind too. Is like super fun to collect unexpected things that maybe are a little outside of your comfort zone too, especially if you're at like a yard sale or a thrift shop, or something's really marked down at your local quilt store. It's a good time to say, maybe I should just get like a half yard of that and hold it back for when I need something unexpected, because that's kind of what builds out and rounds out your stash and makes it super fun and interesting to play with all your fabrics. When you have just some like weirdos, don't go too overboard. If it's something that you would never use, don't get it, because you'll never use it and it'll take up space and you'll be upset. But if it's something that just calls to you, you're like, ooh, I love that. I don't know how I would use it. It's not something normal for me, but it might be really fun. Again, if it's like inexpensive or somebody's cleaning out. I get a lot of people that are cleaning out their stash, or their grandparent has passed away and they're not going to use it anymore. For some reason, their health has declined and they can't use it up anymore. And then I get it. I separate that into stuff I would take to school for my residencies and for my classes to use, and then stuff that I would keep and that I would personally work with. So that's how I get some interesting things. And then it's really fun because it adds a lot of depth to your stash again, which is what we're working on. I'm not 100% sure on this one. It definitely goes. I think it works nicely here because it's got more of the reddish tones to it. And I think we have to check scale. Like if we cut it down to 2.5, are we gonna even know that those are leaves? Yeah, I think we will. And I like the touch of gold, and it's very fall themed, and I love that darker, it's bringing in the even darker orange colors, so we'll keep that. Then I have this texture that is very similar to the other textures that are happening in here, but again on a smaller scale, and it's in this really perfect peach. So that's easy one. This one is Timeless Treasures. I don't know if it has any more defining info, but it's a really great basic, and I love this peach color. Then I have this sort of more cutesy leaf print. I really like this one too, and it's got that gold in it again, which I'm always trying to repeat things. Like I never want it to come up one time, because then it kind of looks like a mistake. So I love to have that. This has a pop of gold, this has a pop of gold. I did that with the plaid too, because it had a gold stripe in it, but that plaid overall didn't work, so we had to take that sucker out. So we'll just go with 2 elements of this, but I like that this is a little bit more graphic like some of the other prints, and it's got these different peach tones on a green background. Love it. Okay, next we're into the yellow section. I bought this one. This is like, I don't know, this is the most amazing, beautiful fabric in my opinion. It's this really petite daisy from Paintbrush Studio, and I can't find the name of it, but I will put it up and you can look at it. You can search for the pattern 120, 25, 100. It's gorgeous. It's like the most beautiful daisy, little petite daisy. And I love it. It brings in the yellow, this golden yellow color, and the green together. So it's a little bit mintier green, but I think that's going to be nice because we have that back here in this print. So I like those different tones of green, and in my opinion, it's not prominent enough that it clashes. So we'll keep that guy in there. Oops, messing up my stack. Okay, next I've got this grass texture. Love the golden. I think this is going to be interesting looking. It's definitely going to read only as a texture once we mix it in here, but I don't know. I like it. I like the vibe. Again, this is one that I might reserve the right to not use once I get into it. This is an old one, I know, from Joanne. So this is something somebody gave to me. So I'm going to kind of use it up. It also has that darker orange tones to it. All right, I don't know if I'm going to pop this one in. I just pulled it because I don't have a ton of other golden yellows. I felt like that was seriously lacking in my stash, so that's something to keep in mind too, because I do really like the golden colors. This one is a pin dot, and it is Essentials from Wilmington Prints. So just a golden pin dot, and it is an essential. Like, you need to have a bunch of different little dots, and that works really well. Like, it's almost the same scale as what's going on in here. It's like maybe one pixel up, a couple pixels up there. So good one to put in. Next, we're in the greens. I didn't have a lot of this green, and I unfortunately used up all of the, like I had a lime green that I felt like worked really, really well with this for some reason, but I used it all up, so I'll either have to go back and get some or just omit it. I did find these 2 that I thought worked really well. This is Stonehenge, which is a fern print. Again, it's a little bit more of a realistic fern print, but I love it. I love this sort of smoky green color that it is. I feel like it complements, even though it's not the same. This is from Northcott. Stonehenge Migration. Beautiful, beautiful. Love that one. And then I have this one, which is a tree print, and it's kind of like limey. It's not exactly, I didn't have any greens that I felt went exactly with it. It's got a lot of this lime color, but I do think that the darker tones work. So I think it'll be fun. Again, it's like a little pop of something different. And this one is Patrick Loose Fabrics. I don't know what the print is. I don't know. Anyway, this is a little bit older. I've had this one for a while, but you could find something similar. I like the graphic style of the trees on this. Again, so like mixing the graphic and organic prints in this one. and mixing geometric with more florals. So that's sort of the vibe. That's kind of almost always my vibe. So that's why I think this works really, really well. And then what are we going to do? So I tried to find at least 2 of every color that I could mix in, just like they have in their jelly roll, right? So trying to replicate that same thing. Some sections have a little bit more, like there's a lot more brown. They have a lot more black and white that I could find. And then the colors, you each have maybe like 2 of the colors. So it's a lot neutral, and then 2 or 3 of the color strips. And that's what I've done in my pull, right? So I have, let's see if we can get everybody to line up here. I've got a lot of those neutrals, mostly in the browns, and I've got 1 or 2 of the colors. You can see, let's flip it around. You can see how I did here with it. And then all that's left to do is cut these into 2.5-inch strips, and then we'll lay them out in amongst our actual jelly roll. To create my jelly roll strips, I'm just going to take some off of my stack here. I can decide if I want to do 1 or 2 of each thing. So let's check our jelly roll. Most prints we have 2, this one we have 1. So you can just sort of go on which ones are your favorite and you want to be more prominent in your jelly roll to work with, and which ones are going to be more of an accent for you. I'd say most of them have 2, so I'm just going to go ahead and cut 2 as a standard practice here. So I will leave them folded in half. You can just stack and whack, as we like to say in quilting. So making sure that it's lined up across the bottom. Oh, actually that one's a little crooked, so I'm going to skip that. I'm going to line it up with the selvage, which is straight off of the machine. And if you've made already a cut off of your fabric, you probably have a really nice straight line that you can line up on your grid board. If you don't, you want to overhang it ever so slightly down over one of these lines, and then cut yourself a really nice straight edge. They don't have to be 100% perfect, but you want it close as possible, because that will start to creep across your quilt if you don't cut it accurately. So I'm going to hold my grid ruler. I'm lining it up with 2.5. Mine has that extra little highlighted half spot, that little half margin there on it, or you just have to read your ruler. So pick the line on the grid, line up the 2, there's my 2.5, and then I'm just gonna place nice firm pressure with my hand and push away from myself, lining up that blade right along the edge of my ruler. And I should have changed my blade, but again, I didn't. Anyway, here is my strip, and then I'm going to do the whole thing again, just making sure to line it up. You want that selvage right along the grid line, and you want your bottom line right along the grid line. You're gonna line your ruler up. All of the little marks should match on your mat, because the mat is straight. You don't necessarily know if you're cutting straight or if your fabric's straight. Hold it in place and push gently away from yourself with some even pressure. Make sure you close your blade when you're done. There's my 2 strips of the green, and I'm just gonna stack them on top of each other just like they're stacked in a jelly roll, and I'm just gonna keep going until I work my way through all of the fabrics. Oh, here, see where it is really not straight on that end? You can't work off of that. That's ridiculous. So I need to line up my selvages. That's the printed factory edge, where it's pulled through the roller for printing. That's what that is, and also contains like your copyright information, in case you're just not familiar with that term. But this is nice and straightly cut right along there, so I can work with that. Or I could line it up and then I could just trim so it'll be straight next time. And sometimes when I do this, I would go press out whatever like factory rolled crease there is on here. Just so I'm not continuing to struggle with it in the future. Not sure what happened. Sometimes the rolls just don't get wound up that nicely. but this one's creeping like pretty bad. So I'm gonna have to trim that guy straight before I can work with him. So I'd make sure that the selvage is lined up along one of my grid lines here. Doesn't really matter which one. And that all of my edges are overhanging. And then I find the line where they're all overhanging, and that's what I'm gonna cut across and straighten the whole thing up. All right, now I have a nice clean edge. Okay, friends, so it's reveal time. How do we think I did? Here is the manufacturer's jelly roll. Remember, that is Maywood Studio, and it is their Kimberbell Basics fall line. Gorgeous, gorgeous fabric collection. I absolutely love it. Would buy again. There's their whole collection. Fabulous colors. How does my fabric collection compare? So I think that I love having this premise in buying something or buying an assortment of your favorite prints from a manufacturer's collection, and then looking through your stash and seeing how you can extend it or build it out so that you can make whatever pattern you want to work on. Or if you just want your project to look a little bit more scrappy and collected than what you might get necessarily from just using a manufacturer's collection. So here they are side by side. I hope you felt inspired today. Next time I am going to use the pre-cuts and my stash jelly roll, and I am going to work on making some granny squares so you can actually see how it comes together and how I mix everything up. And if you want to play along, I would find yourself a granny square pattern, and if you can't find one that already in your stash of patterns, you can go get this one from Quilty Love. She also has wonderful instructions, so you don't have to wait on me if you don't want to. But thank you so much. I hope you felt inspired today to sort through your fabric and create your own collection of prints based off of what we talked about. So get jelly rolling. All right, have a great day.